Am I the a-hole for humiliating my father in front of other family members? Hi, I'm not American. I, female in my early 20s, work 2 jobs. One of them is a corporate job in the industry I specialized in after uni in the morning. The other is a teaching job in the afternoon. I work from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. most days, but I chose to. That is true. My goal is to save up and buy a parcel of land to build on eventually. My dad has been unemployed for around a decade, and he has taken up the role of a stay-at-home husband but does very little chores and never cooks. I don't have any say in this because my mom asked me to stay out of their marriage arrangements, and so I do. Yesterday, my aunt, dad's cousin, and her husband were at my parents' house, and so was I, as I still live here. My aunt was flattering me and telling me how hardworking and responsible I was, to which I replied with similar compliments for her children. My dad went into the conversation and started to underestimate my efforts, saying how easy both my jobs were and how unworthy of any compliments I was for it. I politely cleared that they weren't all that easy and that they were meaningful to me, and of course tiresome to me. I said of course my jobs were more comfortable than agriculture or warehouse working, some of the jobs he worked in the past, but that they are equally as important. He got ruder and started saying I only knew how to whine and that working 2 jobs has no merit. He also added that I didn't even make a lot of money, and I refuted that I make a fair amount. I got offended and said he shouldn't be the one to speak, given I work 2 jobs and he works 0, and my salaries pay for a lot of our household expenses, more than is strictly fair. He said he keeps the house, but I said I do way more chores than him, as well as my mom. I dropped it and changed the topic after my aunt started scolding him for not appreciating my efforts. Later on, he screamed at me and called me an a-hole for defending myself and humiliating him in front of my aunt by saying he doesn't have a job. He said it is normal to talk bad about your own children's accomplishments and I should have taken it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and it is not normal to talk bad about your children. You're supposed to be happy about them. Edit. Just to clarify, I meant it's not normal to talk bad about your child's hard work and achievements, and you're supposed to congratulate them for it. It's 100% not normal to put them down the amazing stuff they've done. Exactly. I take every chance I get to build up my children and recognize the efforts they put in. My teenage daughter had her first job last summer. It was an unpaid volunteer position, but it was absolutely work. I'm still bragging about it. She showed all the qualities of a hardworking, reliable person that you could ask for, and I'm very proud to be her father. I hope he's not the a-hole. Her dad needs to check himself on his entitled attitude. I didn't realize this until after my marriage. At my dad's speech, my husband pointed out how it was full of anecdotes that were about failings of mine. I guess I was so used to it that I didn't realize it. It felt like self-deprecating humor, except it was my dad and not me saying it. I still to this day probably downplay my accomplishments, and I wonder if it was a live fool or subtle digs. Not the a-hole. You pay for the majority of things, plus do most of the chores. And your father has the audacity to treat you this way? I think it's clear what you need to do. Time to leave and let him fend for himself. Yeah, he can't contribute, and I can't let my mom just pay for the 3 of us without contributing, so we end up going 60-40 most of the time. She makes more than me, but from 1 job. He doesn't like chores, and whenever he does them, he leaves those chores that would make my life easier out of the deal. Normal to talk bad about your children's accomplishments. Well, actually, most parents do the exact opposite. If he doesn't want to be seen as not contributing to the household, he needs to start actively contributing to the household, rather than belittling the efforts of others to appear better. Not the a-hole. I've been told he brags sometimes, but only if I'm not around. But he says things like, "Thanks to me, she's accomplished," or "I raised her so well that now she works as..." So I don't know how much of a praise to me it really is. Haha. Next story. Am I the a-hole for flipping out at my husband for canceling my daughter's job interview? My daughter, Mia, is 23 years old. She's a college graduate and recently started looking for a job. Her stepdad, my husband, has been begging her to come work at his company, but she refused because she said that most employees there are men, and that they make uncomfortable comments about women and that they make her feel uncomfortable. She went to the company many times and felt uncomfortable. She said that in those 30 to 40-minute visits, she couldn't handle the negative vibe, so she couldn't imagine working there 8+ hours every day. My husband insisted, and basically gave her a pros list that he thought is enough to make her reconsider. She still refused. Her best friend found her a job opportunity at a company that's well known in our area, and Mia was excited beyond measure. She even went shopping for new clothes just for the interview. However, the day of the interview, I got a call from her crying saying her interview was cancelled. I was confused, thinking something must have gone wrong, but she said that her stepdad got home and told her he cancelled the interview using her email, which led to an argument. I was livid. I went home and I flipped out at him. Like I just lost it on him and he was shocked by my reaction. He defended himself, saying he did this for her own good and that he was frustrated after she kept turning down his offer to join him at a company. He lashed out, saying that instead of siding with her, I should be encouraging her to join the company and help make it better, instead of working for others. I got out of the room and he shut the door and stayed inside the whole time. We still aren't on speaking terms, but he occasionally threw in how he just wanted what's best for the whole family. But now Mia missed an opportunity to work with a respectable company and gain the benefits that would help her progress in her career. Not the a-hole. Your daughter is an adult. She gets to make adult decisions. One of them is not working for her stepfather. See if she can't reschedule that interview. Something to the effect of, "Good morning, person. My profuse apologies for the previous email and confusion. This account was accessed by somebody who does not represent me and should not have the authority to speak on my behalf. I have taken steps to secure my email account so that this does not happen again. Would you be so kind to allow me to reschedule my interview?" Edit. In case you, or anybody else reading, decides to take this advice, I honestly wouldn't add or remove any detail from this example. Too much detail makes it sound like you have excuses. Too little makes it sound like you don't care enough. Say exactly what information you would need to know if the roles were swapped. No more, no less. Please encourage her to do this, OP. If she needs a witness, ensure her that would back up her statement if need be. Not the a-hole, but seriously, your husband sucks, and so does his company. He created a company with an environment that is super misogynistic and straight up toxic for women. Birds of the same feather flock together, OP. He is giving off super creepy and very controlling vibes. Yes, his refusal to accept multiple no's from a young woman is disturbing, as is his obsession to have Mia working at his company. Not the a-hole. Is he normally this domineering and controlling? Dude straight up hacked her emails and ruined an opportunity that she actually wanted. Your daughter has good judgment in not wanting to work anywhere near him. Not to mention he practically bragged about it to the daughter after he did it, and then was shocked when Opie was upset. Sounds like this guy's not used to being told no, or opposed in any way. Some serious red flags here. I hope Opie leaves him. I'd never put up with someone doing that to my kid. Not the a-hole. Report this to the police. What your husband did was commit fraud and possibly illegally accessed your daughter's email as well. Make it clear to your husband that he's making choices that ensure his daughter will not speak to him ever again. Consider whether you want to spend your life with somebody who could do this to someone he claims to love. If your daughter still lives at home, please do what you can to get her out of there and away from your abusive husband. Exactly. And not only make it clear that the daughter will not speak to him, but Opie will not speak to him either. Like he legit has to find a way to resolve this in the best way for the daughter, or the husband would have to leave in my opinion. Next story. Am I the a-hole for putting a debt on my daughter? My wife and I are in the fortunate position of being wealthy. We had to work our butts off to get where we are, and we never forget where we came from. Our kids grew up rich kids, but we never spoiled them even when we could have. They went to nice schools, had nice things, but they also had summer jobs and after-school jobs to pay for their own extras. We also push philanthropy in our family, so our kids recognize they're privileged and that our life isn't even remotely how regular people live. I'd say for the most part, our kids have grown up to be respectful and good people. Our oldest children are twin boys and their sister, who is 18 months younger than them. All three are in college now. Our youngest two are in 8th grade. I got a call from our bank a couple days ago, saying that someone had cashed a check that was charged to our bank account in the amount of about $62,000, and that the check had been made out to the tuition office of the university my oldest 3 kids attend. Naturally, I investigated the matter myself with the university and got some answers. I pieced together that one of my kids snagged my checkbook and wrote a tuition check for a friend of theirs. There's a much bigger story behind why this kid couldn't pay, but that's private, and my wife and I agreed to fund this young person's education because of their private struggles. I grilled my kids and figured out that it was our daughter, Joanna. Joanna was apologetic, but she was also quite insistent that she stood behind her actions. I respect my daughter for her convictions, and she really did have good reasons for why she did it. But the fact remains that she stole and then she hid it. Joanna asked what her punishment is, and I told her to get a job because she now owes her mother and I $62,000. Here's the thing. I don't expect Joanna to pay us back, and if she came to me tomorrow with the money, I wouldn't take it. What I want is to see an effort made, an acknowledgement of her actions and the consequences. If I see that she's actively trying, I'll tell her that she doesn't have to pay me back. She's my kid and I love her, so all I want is for her to learn a lesson. But Joanna doesn't know all this. All she thinks is that she owes me $62,000. So naturally, I'm a horrible father and a very mean person. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I actually think you should follow through and expect her to pay it back in full. Same. Otherwise, she'll think from now on, oh, I just have to do what he wants for a couple weeks and I'll be good. I think you're spot on for how you're addressing the sneaking, stealing, and lies. I'm sure you made it clear that she had to come to you and made a case for helping this person out. There would have been no consequence, but had the disciplinary action as a result of the dishonesty and theft. Not the a-hole. That's the thing. Had she come to me and explained what was going on with this friend of hers, a nice kid we've known since her freshman year, would have been happy to pay. What is money and having wealth if you aren't going to help those who need it? We can't understand why she'd hide and lie, and sneak and steal since we've never once denied using our money for good. I have a whole scholarship fund set up at my own alma mater to send kids to college. This kind of thing is my favorite kind of giving. I'd be more concerned about the stealing. She could go to prison for this kind of thing. You don't want her to suffer those consequences, but her just glossing over theft and fraud doesn't bode well for her future. If she did this to anyone else or anywhere else, her future could be over. If she knew you'd foot the bill, what was the impetus behind her actions? Other than to see if she could get away with it. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for going through my daughter's room while she was asleep? Hello, I, 49 female, have a 17-year-old daughter. Throughout middle and high school, she has had some problems with smoking weed and vaping. I've gone through her room and belongings on several occasions when she has not been home to try and make sure she's not doing anything illegal. And most of the time, I don't find anything, but I can never be too sure. She's over a month into her senior year and has really let her grades slip. She is normally a straight A AP student, but she has several B's in the grade book right now. I am very disappointed in her as this is her senior year and she should not be screwing around like this. Last night while she was asleep, I decided to go through her room because I figured if her grades were this poor, she must be misbehaving. I looked through her drawers and closet, but I couldn't find anything, so I decided to look through her phone. To do this, I had to get on her bed and reach over as she sleeps with it by her pillow facing the wall. While grabbing her phone, I saw her wallet and decided to look through that too. I gave up on looking through her phone because I couldn't figure out her password, so I opened her wallet and started looking through it. In her wallet, I found an empty vape pod and saw red. I woke her up at about 5:30 and confronted her about it. She told me that she didn't even know it was in her wallet, and that she didn't even understand why I was mad because I know she quit months ago. She then asked me why I was going through her stuff in the middle of the night, especially since she gave me no reason to. And then she said I was an a-hole and completely betrayed her trust. So am I the a-hole for going through my daughter's room while she was sleeping? Can't wait to see you back here on your am I the a-hole for causing my daughter to go no contact the moment she turned 18? It's weed, not heroin. She's 17 and an academic top performer. What are you getting this worked up over, lady? Chill the heck out, Mom. You're the a-hole. Sounds like Mama probably could benefit from smoking a little herself. My parents treated me this exact way growing up, despite me being top of my class for my entire youth. Messed me up about trusting persons in authority majorly. I hardly talk to them today. Go figure. Yeah, I was top of my class, but my parents luckily were pretty chill about grades. My grades slipped senior year of high school because I was burned out. High school grades matter so little in the grand scheme of things. Every good chance the reason the daughter was smoking is to deal with the stress the mom is putting her under. One of my high school best friends was a consistent B and C student. Decided to buckle down in college and got into a top med school. And then I had friends who were so burned out after high school that they floundered in college. What mom is doing isn't helping her daughter at all. You're the a-hole. Her grade slipped from A to B and she's screwing around? How tiger mom of you. As a parent, you certainly have a right to have a say in what your child does while they still live with you, to a point. You are exhibiting zero trust in your daughter to the point that you are seizing opportunities to ease your extreme paranoia over what your daughter does behind your back. You absolutely violated her trust. Why would she trust you? She's given you zero reason to suspect her of screwing around, except apparently a slight drop in grades, which honestly doesn't call for what you did. Seriously think about the relationship you want to have with your daughter because she will soon become an adult. And if you keep expressing this level of paranoia and overprotection, she's going to eventually want to cut you out of her life. Further, she won't want to come to you for help or advice because she won't be able to trust you. What if she gets in trouble when she's at college or working, and she desperately needs someone to help her, but she can't think of anyone because her mother would just mistreat her for getting into trouble? I had this kind of parent, and I got kicked out because of a fight about how to fold towels. You're the a-hole for sure. I have a great job, and 12 years later, no one has ever looked at my high school or college grades. Just that I have a degree. Am I the a-hole for laughing at my brother while he's going through a bad divorce? My brother is going through a divorce right now. He's been living with my mom and dad, and me and my parents helped him come up with money to get a lawyer. I know it's been a rough time for him. When he met with a lawyer for the first time, he found out that you can't get alimony in a divorce if there was infidelity. As in, the law forbids it and there's no exception. It doesn't matter if you stayed home with your kid for over 20 years like my brother or never worked. My sister-in-law is an architect and she makes bank. My brother thought he would get alimony, but he was dumb enough to cheat on her. He also found out that he is not able to claim any part of the house because she owned it outright before they got married. Both of these he wasn't expecting, and he was obviously upset when he got back from his first visit with a lawyer. When he told me that the law will deny him alimony, I laughed, and my parents chewed me out over it. It probably was the wrong reaction, but he was so confident he would be able to get a big payment and half or all of the house. He will get some money from their savings, but nowhere near what he thought, and most of it will get eaten up by legal fees. He has been knocked down several pegs and completely screwed himself over. Am I the a-hole because I laughed? Was it like kicking him when he was down? He has no work history or money of his own to fall back on. I know it's been rough for him and he's struggling with what to tell my niece as well. It was almost an involuntary reaction because I just couldn't believe it. Now for the top comments. Was your brother a stay-at-home dad? Did they decide he would stay home, or was he lazy at mooching off her? He was definitely an a-hole for cheating, but if he gave up his job to take care of the kids, he does deserve something. Maybe not the house or a huge alimony, but it is a sacrifice to be a stay-at-home parent. He stayed home from when my niece was born. She graduated college in June and just turned 23. She lived at home until her college graduation. I agree with you, but the law is what the law is. I am torn on this. I am someone who has an inappropriate, reflexive laugh reaction to highly emotional news. It seriously sucks. However, uncontrollable or not, it does make already upset people feel worse. Also, he obviously messed up by cheating. That's a no-brainer. But, does he deserve to get nothing after staying home to raise his daughter in lieu of a paying job? I don't think so. I feel if the roles were reversed, much fewer folks would be saying he got what he deserved. Not the a-hole. He had a life where his wife provides the home and the income, and he decided to destroy it by cheating on his wife, and expected to walk away with her hard-earned money? Him pouting over the reality of having to deal with the consequences of his own stupidity is laughable. Not the a-hole. Cheaters deserve to be laughed at. Brother is realizing his side piece will leave once she learns he doesn't have any money. Lol. See? Laughing is a natural reaction to cheaters getting their just desserts. Reminds me of that one post where the guy cheated on his wife with, I think, a secretary, but his wife was the one with all the money. Ended up getting the side chick pregnant. Lost his wife and everything he had. Not even his daughters want anything to do with him. The wife later got remarried, and he tried to say she was probably having an affair with a dude because of how soon they got married after the divorce. Lol. Not the a-hole. It is funny. Hilarious, actually. He tried to screw his ex-wife over first. He thought he would get money and a house from her, but he fooled around and found out the hard way. Now he has nothing. Like he actually thought he could take her house, the house she had before they even got married. The entitlement that he has is astounding. I mean, a lot of people who browse this sub think that a partner should get partial ownership over their partner's house if they move in and help pay bills for a few months. It's not that far-fetched to believe that a future ex-husband in this story thought something similar would pass in real life. I agree though, it really is funny. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my husband? So I, 32 female, and my husband, 35 male, have been together for 8 years, married for 6. My husband has always talked about having kids, and we decided we were ready last year. After months of stress and no results, we went to a doctor and found out my husband is infertile. He's always deeply wanted to be a father, so this was a big deal to him. We took a few months to process, and he grieved the loss, understandably so. To my surprise, he suggested we go to a sperm bank. I was a little unsure if trying so soon would be a good idea, but he insisted that neither of us are getting younger, and he was completely okay with things. He's always been pretty blunt with his feelings, good or bad, so I thought it was alright. And at first it was. Then when we started looking through the book at the descriptions of the donors, and all of a sudden my husband's attitude changed. He demanded to see some samples of sperm from shorter men, because it's a man thing. And he apparently wouldn't be able to love someone else's son that's taller than him, living in his house. I stopped the appointment, and we got into a terrible fight on the way home. He apologized, saying he was just emotional, realizing it wouldn't really be a son, that the book made it seem real. We agreed to tentatively start the process again, but throughout the week, he made comments about how I might as well just cheat on him, and snide remarks about how my boss would be happy to put a baby in me if I ask. He even got jealous of my brother-in-law and made a very rude comment to him and my sister about how we could swap for a night and all get what we wanted. I shut the entire thing down after that, saying I didn't want to have kids with him when he was acting like this. Maybe never after that. With obligations to visit his family for a birthday dinner, we did. It was an alright if slightly cold evening, until his mother asked me to get him and a few others back inside. I wasn't surprised to find them complaining about me, but the subject matter shocked me. He told them our recent marital problems were because I was infertile due to my old age. I listened as he told his brother on and on about how he just wasn't sure if I was worth the effort, and maybe he should try to find someone younger while he still could. They joked about the women he could be sleeping with. It was crass, insulting, and deeply embarrassing. It also wasn't true. I was livid. I went back inside and grabbed the car keys, and when he asked why I was crying, I told everyone in the room, all adults, the truth. I left him there and ignored his calls. When he finally came home, we had the biggest argument of our lives about how I shared such a big insecurity and shamed him to his family. That his mother cried. I'm currently staying with my sister and I think our marriage may be irreparable. He says I humiliated him, and I know that I did. But he was perfectly fine lying to humiliate me and claiming he wanted to leave me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your husband being infertile feels like karma in this case. Nature's way of telling this particular piece of work not to procreate. Do not have children or tie yourself down to this man any further, OP. The way he has treated you is beyond reprehensible. He deserved to be embarrassed, and honestly deserved much worse than he got. Projecting his own issues onto you publicly and then making a joke about trading you in is so incredibly disrespectful. I can't imagine how this man would treat a child, or you, as normal life things happen over time, illnesses, accidents, etc. Time to reconsider this relationship, I'd say. Not the a-hole at all. I am pretty sure he would treat the baby from the sperm donor horribly and his wife even more. Yeah, as soon as he started saying he wouldn't be able to love someone else's son if they were taller than him, living in his house, it became clear that he would never actually see the child as his own and would resent them just for existing. I'm so glad that Opie recognized what a red flag that was and stopped the process right then and there, even if she ended up giving him another chance afterward. Hopefully she doesn't go back to him. Not the a-hole. Do you want to have a child with this man? When people show you who they are, believe them. Please don't have a child with this person. Opie did not humiliate her husband at all. She told people the truth, which exposed his lies. He only has himself to blame. What a complete and total a-hole. Not the a-hole. Let's review this wonderful man. 1. He's talking about cheating on you. 2. He's talking about leaving you. 3. He lied about a medical condition that you do not have. 4. He says all of the problems in the marriage are your fault. 5. He's insecure about tall men. 6. He's insecure about being infertile, making creepy jokes about you sleeping with your boss or brother-in-law. Why are you married to this person? Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my mother-in-law believe I was having an affair? I, 27 female, and my husband, 26 male, are big gaming addicts. Our parents hate that we played games, and we have got in multiple fights as children and adults over our hobby. It is a sore subject in our family, and we have opted to lie and say we are outside if anyone asks what we are doing. We both work from home, and right after work, we proceeded to play games until midnight. None of us like leaving the house, so we are practically next to each other 95% of the time. There is no humanly possible way for either of us to cheat on one another. I am currently pregnant, and this has caused our in-laws to visit very frequently. Due to this increase in visits, we have reduced much of our gaming time for the better health of the baby, and so they do not see us gaming. We have gotten an argument about how our hobbies are unacceptable, childish, and that we needed to change. Sundays are known to everyone as the unavailable day. We always say we are on a date or something, but in reality, we are at home getting our weekly gaming quota covered. My husband went to a gaming cafe with friends vicing, and I stayed home last Sunday. Mother-in-law decided later to call me in the middle of a match, and I suppose I was acting very suspicious because I wanted to end the conversation ASAP. She asked what I was doing, and I replied automatically without thinking that I was on a date with my husband. According to my husband, she then later called him and he said that he was at a bar with friends. Mother-in-law decided to visit my house, where I was undoubtedly in the middle of another game. I avoided any phone calls and pretended to not hear the knocking until my match was over, 20 minutes or so. Afterwards, I answered the door and pretended that I was sleeping, which is why I wasn't answering the phone or door. Mother-in-law exploded at me, calling me a cheater, and that the child I was pregnant with was not her son's, because otherwise, why would I not answer the door? The idea that I would cheat, and that it would even be possible to cheat on my partner, was so hilarious to me that I burst out laughing, which angered mother-in-law even more. She continued to berate me while I just smiled, sitting there thinking how ridiculous all this was. When my husband came home, she berated me in front of him about how I was cheating on him. My husband was visibly confused the whole time and confirmed with his mother that there was no possible way for me to cheat on him. He explained how we are together practically every moment of the day, and when mother-in-law saw he was not getting on her side, she proceeded to get mad at me for leading her on. She called me an a-hole for pretending to have an affair and never correcting her before she told other people. Although I never clarified that I wasn't cheating, I do think that it was not her place to come unannounced and proclaim that I am a cheater. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Stop letting this damn woman through your front door. Not the a-hole, of course. OP, stop answering her calls ever. Grey rock her. Your husband plays interference with your mother-in-law from now on. You are completely unavailable to your mother-in-law. There is simply no reason for her to have this much access and this much of an opinion on your lives. Good riddance and happy gaming. Absolutely this. OP, we had a serious breakdown in our relationship with my in-laws, husband and me both, and now the dynamics are he feels any interaction. It's just safer and less messy. And honestly, it's his parents. We have a good relationship with mine, but I still field calls with them. They need to get off your backs. How is gaming worse than reading/watching TV, etc.? You are sitting for them all. At least with gaming and reading, your brain is actively working. Big boundaries are gonna be needed for you guys, unfortunately, once baby comes. I have a strong feeling your mother-in-law is going to go off the deep end for encroachment on your lives. Not the a-hole, and your mother-in-law sounds toxic. Your gaming is your business. You both need to tell your parents that is not their business and to keep their opinions on your gaming to themselves. And enforce it. If they start in on you for it on the phone, hang up. If they start when you're at their house, leave. If at your house, tell them to leave. You are adults. I agree. You also don't need to lie about what you are actually doing to win her approval. Who needs the approval of someone who blames everyone else but themselves? Completely agree that they should start acting like adults and stop letting other people dictate how they live their lives. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for speaking American Sign Language and not telling my boyfriend I know how to sign? My 25 female boyfriend, 26 male, is mad at me currently for not telling him I know American Sign Language and embarrassing him. I'm by no means fluent, but I took beginner classes in university. I study a people-facing field and figured it would be helpful. I can get by. I know basic conversational signs and things like how to get around places, locations, etc. It's enough to be helpful but not maintain a fluent conversation. We were at a train station and I had gone to the restroom while my boyfriend waited outside. Before I had gone in, I noticed an elderly couple looking at a map and signing. I didn't think much of it, but when I came back out, I could see my boyfriend trying to help them. I could sense some tension/frustration because he doesn't know ASL, and the couple was obviously lost and flustered. The woman started going through her purse for a pad of paper and had to start emptying her bag to get a pen. I walked up to them and started signing and let them know I could help. They were relieved, and I helped them find their correct route and where they needed to go. After the couple walked away, my boyfriend got mad and said I embarrassed him by not telling him I know ASL and interfering when he had it handled. I told him knowing ASL wasn't a secret, it just never came up. And it wasn't handled, as I could tell he was getting annoyed and the couple was flustered. He says I embarrassed him and showed him up. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add some details. We've been together for a little over 6 months and this is really the first time I've seen this behavior. I definitely realize now this is a red flag, and I guess we're coming out of that honeymoon stage now. To answer some questions, I'm not sure why the couple or my boyfriend didn't opt for using a smartphone. I guess he was flustered, and the couple clearly had plenty of belongings they were juggling. Not the a-hole. The proper reaction is, no way. That's cool. Red flag on your boyfriend's ear-interfering reaction. Red flag on getting mad about an insignificant omission too. What an unpleasant person. And a further red flag that it makes being shown up in a minor way this poorly. You were genuinely helpful, and he took it like he lost his hero moment. Not the a-hole. Sounds like his ego was bruised. A man less threatened would have been grateful for your assistance. To say he was embarrassed over this interaction is ridiculous. If something so insignificant can annoy him that much, it makes you wonder what would happen if something truly embarrassing happened. Not the a-hole. Your boyfriend feels emasculated and undercut because you could do something he can't. Not just knowing the language, but the fact that you solved something he couldn't. I wouldn't go so far as to say that this is a red flag, because sometimes it's hard to control those emotions in the moment. And then, I'm sorry I shouldn't have acted that way becomes very hard to say. However, you should be on the lookout for similar situations in your relationship and get out if they become toxic. Small updates, I guess. He said he's had some time to cool off and he's glad I was able to help them. But he said he still felt embarrassed when I took over the situation and made him look incompetent. I'm planning to have a conversation about how this is a problem with his ego and not my skills. But depending on how that goes, maybe this is the end of it.